Hi friends, this is Michelle at Estav Art, and today I'm going to show you how I went about painting this cute little French flower cart illustration. So stay tuned for all of my tips and tricks. You can see me sketching on graph paper, which is one of my preferences when I'm painting something or sketching something that is a little bit more architectural. I want to make sure that I get the perspectives both correct and also parallel. So I'm kind of worked out how I wanted to sketch the little, I guess, curtain or cover at the top of the flower cart. And then I'm working on, since I'm facing the flower cart, I want the table to kind of come towards the viewer. And the graph paper just kind of helps me to keep that consistent and parallel with each side, which I think is such an advantage when you're sketching. And then here I'm adding the flower pots to the cart and just kind of working out what size those will be and where they'll sit on the cart table there. And I kind of did them varying sizes and various positions, like some of them were more forward, some of them were more backward. And I just kind of think that gives it a little bit of realism, as opposed to if they were all kind of aligned in the same way, it just wouldn't look quite as natural to me. One of the other reasons why you'll see me typically sketch on something other than my watercolor paper is because as a drawer, I tend to do a lot of erasing. I don't know if you've observed that as you're seeing the sketch come together. So I really don't want to spend too much time erasing on my watercolor paper, because if you do too much rubbing, it's going to kind of degrade the watercolor paper and the paint won't soak into the paper quite as well. So this kind of gives me a few different advantages. Not only does it help me with the perspective and keeping things aligned, but it also helps preserve the watercolor paper when I actually transfer the sketch over. So here you'll see I've attached a tracing paper to my graphing paper, and I'm going to go over this with a pen, and I can make any kind of changes or adjustments that I see fit, and this is just me finalizing my sketch. Now that I've finished my sketch and I've transferred it into the sketchbook, I am mixing up some of the initial colors that I want to use in my painting. I have a dark blue there, and I'm going to mix up a white and peach. And I think the peachy white combination with the blue will look really nice for the umbrella that's over the cart. And then I wanted to mix up kind of a little bit of gray and black for the flower pots. Now that I have some of my initial paints decided, I'm going to hold off before I decide what color I want to paint the flowers. I'm ready to hit the page, and I'm going to alternate the stripes on the umbrella between the blue that I'm painting there and that peachy white. But of course, I want to not paint directly next to my wet paint. So you'll see I'm gonna go over a few, so I'm trying to decide which would be, the next peach color, because I can't paint directly next to the blue, because those being both wet, they would mix and I wouldn't get like solid colors. So I've painted several stripes, and I'm going to wait for those to dry because obviously I don't want the colors to combine if I paint wet next to wet paint. So I've turned my attention over to the metal buckets that are going to hold the flowers. So with the same thing that I did with the stripes on the umbrella, I'm not going to paint buckets that are directly next to each other while the paint is still wet. So you can see I skipped one of the buckets and I'm painting kind of the next one in the line. And just for visual interest, I painted it with a little bit of white space as well, so you can see a little bit of light reflecting there. So you see me erasing one of the lines there because I don't want it to show through when I paint these kind of flowers, which are pretty light. I went with a yellow to start out, and there I am mixing up a little bit of pink, and I'm kind of doing a little tulipy type pink flower in the next bucket. So again, I'm going to erase any lines that I don't want to show through behind my flowers. And I mixed up a peachy, orangey pink that I am going to paint in this last bucket on the edge. And the fun thing about a project like this is you can pick whatever colors you like. And I just sort of decided as I went. I didn't really have a solid plan when I started. And the other nice part about a project like this is it's fairly beginner friendly because you can see I'm not really painting clear flowers. I'm just kind of dabbing drops of paint onto my paper and just giving it the effect of looking like a flower. So I have some hydrangeas or lilacs in purple there as well. I think those are pretty flowers. And now that my other stripes in my umbrella have dried, I can go back in and start finishing up some of the stripes as well. Okay, again, I'm going to wait for the stripes on the umbrella that I just painted to dry. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to add a little bit more to my flowers. I put in a little bit of yellow to go alongside the kind of peachy orange flower that I have there, just to give it a little bit like of a variation. I was kind of imagining that it was, you know, maybe a rose that has more orange center but yellow petals. So that's kind of what I was going for there. Sorry about this part. I was actually mixing up the brown for the wood on, you know, the base of the flower cart, and I did not move I didn't move my camera to show you what I was mixing up, but I mixed up kind of an ochre yellow and a light brown. I like to sort of start with a lighter color brown because I wasn't sure really how dark I wanted the brown to be in this painting, because it's kind of like a illustrative, and all of the colors are really sort of soft and light. I was, you know, mixing white into some of the colors, so I didn't really want to go too dark with the wood. So I just put this layer down of this kind of honey colored wood, maybe that's pine, and I'm just going to see if I want to darken it up once it dries. So I'm gonna let that layer of wood color on the cart dry. And now that my umbrella stripes are mostly dry, I'm gonna go in with the last stripe that I need to paint and paint that in. So if you're a beginner artist, this is something to think about, just how you pace the painting. You can work on different parts of it while other parts are drying. And that's one of the kind of fun parts, I think, of watercolor, where you can get a little bit more efficient with it as you learn more about the medium. I couldn't really decide what I wanted to do with this particular pot of flowers, so I just kind of tried to paint in some circular, poofy orange flowers. I was thinking maybe they were roses. And from here, I'm going to go in and darken up some parts of the wooden part of the cart. Okay, you can see me here starting to sketch out the support for the cart. So I started putting in some of the spokes of the wheel. And then I'm gonna go in and try and fix up some of the wood here on the cart. I wanted to give it the impression of being a piece of lumber. So I'm darkening some parts of the cart, and then others I'm just sort of leaving. And I'm also going to add in, as you can see, I added in some greenery around my flowers. And I think that added a little bit more depth and dimension. And I had left these other pots unpainted because I knew I wanted some of the green flowers to be green leaves to be hanging down over the base, the pot. So there you see me finishing out painting the metal pots that the flowers are sitting in here. So I mixed up some gray, a light gray, so I could return to the base of the cart, and I'm painting in the support beams, and I'm also going to add a little bit more to the wheel. And I also want to put here, you can see me putting a little bit of a shadow under each of the pots. So that they don't look like they're just hovering on the wood, but that they're actually sitting there because they're casting a shadow. So that gives it a little bit more of a placement there. And here I go back to the wheel. I think I used maybe just a circle or something. I'm trying to think what I used to make sure that my circle was fully round, but I had to trace that. So, just kind of a little bit of an illustrative style, but I wanted the circle to be actually a circle. So some realism there. So I wanted to continue with an illustrative style here. And one of my favorite techniques to add to a watercolor sketch, if I wanted to seem very illustrative in nature, is to take a fine liner pen, like the Molotow that you see me holding here. I think it's like a 0.5 nib, so a little bit of a hefty nib. And I just like to trace all around my sketch, and also add in some sketchy black lines in various places. And it really just gives, I think, a completed and playful effect to my painting. Once I finished adding the sketchy lines to the umbrella, I continued on with adding more lines. You can see I'm working on the pots that are holding the flowers, and I'm also gonna line the flower cart itself and put some sketchy lines on the wood as well, just to give it like a consistent, I think it makes it look a little more consistent. Well, if you blink, you'll miss it, but my cat made 2 passes in my workspace. They just love to be a part of my painting process. Okay, so I finished the card itself, and I'm gonna paint a little bit of a sidewalk for it to be sitting on. Okay, so there you have it. Here's my final product. And this is in my Etchr sketchbook. I really love that sketchbook for these kind of illustrative pieces. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoyed watching, and please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.